Oh, hello.
Happy birthday!
Thank you, Nacho. Thank you. My brother, my brother told me that, or maybe Bob, you can verify this, that in the United Kingdom, 64 used to be the age of retirement. Anyways, now I'm 64, so I guess I could
Happy
have retired.
birthday. Happy birthday. Yeah. I don't think it is anymore, though. I think you have to keep on.
Now it's 66. I don't know. Keep pushing it ahead.
Yeah.
So we are celebrating my birthday we checked into a nice inn, a hotel in Sedona, Arizona. Oh, that rhymes. Sedona, Arizona. So we're out of our camper. I can give you an idea of our view from our room.
Wow.
I don't know if you could see the mountains there.
Yeah.
Through the window. This place is surrounded by mostly red. These are not so red here, but these red rock mountains, so beautiful. And it's famous for its vortices. How do they say plural? Is vortex?
Vortices.
Vortices, yeah. Vortex, plural. And people have been coming here for, I don't know, maybe centuries, Native Americans and then Europeans, for healing purposes. So for those of you who want to come to the United States, of course, I always tell people you want to visit New York, you want to visit San Francisco. I think you also want to visit Sedona. It's maybe vale la pena. It's worth it. Very beautiful. But this is actually a better birthday for me, seeing all of you online. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Hi, Martina. Good to see your face. Are you still in Cercedilla or are you in Madrid or where are you? Cercedilla?
I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
So, why don't we start off with a little meditation? And since we are still in the eighth factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, samadhi, samadhi, or right concentration, right stillness, as Ajahn Brahm calls it, right stillness. We'll basically just practice on just quieting the mind, relaxing into the present moment. So if there's no questions or anybody who wants to say anything, we'll go ahead and get started. So find yourself a comfortable posture. One where you can really relax into your body, into this amazing container, vehicle that carries us around. And at the same time, we don't want to be so relaxed that we might fall asleep. And I know for most of you, it's the end of the day, or at least the end of daylight. And if you do feel sleepy, you can always open your eyes or even stand up if you have to. Not that a nap is a bad thing, but during meditation, we try to be awake. So, however you can connect to your body, connect to the present moment. Maybe it's feeling the body, holding the body in awareness. Or maybe you go directly to the breath. You could also use hearing, listening as a nice way to connect to your body and to the present moment, as a very receptive way to it. Listening, just hearing, not judging, not making up any stories. And so in samadhi practice or samatha practice, we generally focus on one thing. Find an object, such as the breath, and we focus on that to the exclusion of other things. In an open awareness practice or vipassana practice, we become aware, or we are aware of whatever arises. But in samatha, we tend to just pick one object and keep coming back to that object, trying to sustain attention on that object. Vitaka and vikara are the Pali words. Vitaka, that initial attention; vikara, that sustained attention. One of my teachers even told me, we can invite vikara, for instance, to my practice. I invite sustained attention. May I have sustained attention, continued attention. And of course, the mind will do what the mind does. It will think, it will wander, it will get distracted. We kindly, gently, and yet firmly let the distraction pass on by and come back to our chosen object. The breath, the body, a body part, listening. To make the attention easier, We don't want to struggle or have to work too hard. We try to choose something that we find easy to notice, maybe even pleasant. Maybe the whole body breathing, or maybe you like it right at the nostrils. Or maybe you like the tingling that might be present in the whole body, whatever attracts you, whatever calls you. If you are struggling a bit with lots of thinking, obsessive thought, you can use counting, especially if you're following the breath. So maybe count your exhalations till you get to 5. And then you can either go backwards from 5 or start again at 1. And if at any time you get distracted before you reach 5, no problem. That's a moment of reawakening when we realize this. Just try to be kind to ourselves and start again. It's a nice supportive tool to help us train the mind, communicate to the mind what we want it to do, that we want it to stay with the object. in these final 6 or 7 minutes of our formal practice. If you'd like, you can try a form of metta samadhi practice where we repeat a metta phrase over and over until we start to feel the loving kindness, feel the metta. So you might just do, may all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Que todos los seres sean felices. Just concentrating on the phrase and concentrating on any feeling that it might evoke. Or you can stay with your original object. So no matter where your mind has been or how your practice has gone up to this point, let's return to the body, regrounding our attention and to the physical form, maybe into the belly, relaxing the belly muscles, sending that message to the nervous system that everything is okay. And then maybe putting your awareness into the heart center, thanking yourself for your practice, for taking the time out of this Sunday to connect with yourself in this way, nurture yourself, and thanking everyone else on this call for their practice, their support, this community, this Sangha, and maybe imagining you can send this metta, this loving kindness, this goodwill out in all directions, touching each and every being. Remembering that even though this can seem like a solitary practice, it really is probably the best thing we can do for the benefit of all. And when you hear the sound of the bell, as always, just seeing what arises. Well, thank you, everyone. Being here, being there, being everywhere. Supporting my practice. So I thought I would talk a little bit more about samadhi, about the eighth factor in the Noble Eightfold Path. And I know for some of you, this is interesting. This is, for some people, this is kind of where the practice might diverge a little bit. For instance, in the Thich Nhat Hanh, call it branch. It's Zen practice, but not Japanese Zen. It's Vietnamese Zen. Thich Nhat Hanh Zen, really. There's really less emphasis on samadhi or on deep concentration practice than you might find in the Southeast Asian countries in the Theravada tradition. And we tend to follow that one a little bit more here on these Sundays. And for some people, it's really about community. It's about Sangha. It's about doing good. It's about the ethical component of Buddhism. And then for others, it's very much about practice, right? It's very much about calming the mind, centering the mind, really experiencing the really the pleasantness, the pleasure even that can come with a concentrated mind. This is for some people very attractive. And I recognize that for some, the emphasis is more on action, and for others, it's more on practice. But I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about it. And I'm even going to talk a little bit about the jhanas. And these are specifically mentioned in the early Buddhist text. And the best English translation is absorption. Absorption. Now, it's something that unassisted, I have never experienced the actual absorption where the body falls away, the senses fall away. I have experienced the different jhanic factors, though, and I'm going to talk about those. And it is one of these things that for some people it's relatively easy, and for others it's like impossible, and then there's the whole range in between. And I sort of liken it to the game of tennis, right? Tennis, the Australian Open just finished, and maybe some of you follow tennis. I like tennis very much. And tennis is a good metaphor for meditation, because the best players or the best play is when we're not thinking, when we're just with the ball, let's say, right? And that's the object. And we're not thinking about it. We're just letting the body do its thing, and we're concentrating on the ball. Now, for some people, like, Djokovic, who just won the Australian Open, he's got the whole package, right? All the conditions have come together for him where he is just one heck of a tennis player. And then there's people like me who I played it, I could play it every single day, and I'm never going to be all that good at it, but I'll enjoy it. And I did. And I do still play it every once in a while, and I still enjoy it. And meditation can be like that too. So for some people, they are a master at meditation. Their mind is perfectly suited for it. They're very patient. They're very concentrated. They can sit in one posture physically. They have the physical characteristics, so they could sit for hours. So there's like professionals, right? Not that anybody's paying them, but there's like the Djokovic's of meditation, right? The Nadals of meditation. And so we want to watch our expectations, right? And at the same time, it's like jhanic experience, deep absorption is sort of the goal. That's like the professional level of meditation. There's nothing wrong with us facing in that direction and practicing concentration. It's a very good thing, even though we may never reach it, right? We may never reach those deep levels of absorption. And then there are some people that on their first 10-day retreat, they can do it. It's just their mind is suited for it. And so in part, I may be talking a little bit to them. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if some of the jhanic factors even could arise in a 30-minute sit, or definitely in a weekend retreat. Sometimes they just come, and they almost always come by accident. We can't force them. They come when they're going to come. So I think the first thing I'm going to do, though, there's a wonderful jhana master by the name of Shayla Catherine. She's from the San Francisco Bay Area, and she wrote a wonderful book called Focused and Fearless. Focused and Fearless. And it's probably one of the best little books on meditation practice that I've ever read. And I happen to have it on Kindle. So I thought I would go to it and read her little introduction. Let's see. Here we go. Hopefully you can see that, chapter 1. So this is from Shayla Catherine. She says, concentration is an essential feature of contemplative life, cultivated through formal meditation practice and also through any of a variety of other daily activities. So she's not dismissing, the kind of Thich Nhat Hanh life too, because for sure we can be mindful throughout all our activities and get many of the benefits that you can get in sitting practice. Sitting practice, I just find, is a little easier to achieve concentration than is washing dishes or, doing whatever. So here's where I've highlighted it. Concentration brings with it a natural joy that arises as the mind settles and is absent of distraction. And I wouldn't be surprised if every one of you have experienced that at one time or another, where the mind has been concentrated for a few breaths, and then you notice how that feels quite nice. There's a natural joy. The body responds to that. The mind responds to that. Skipping to the next part that I've highlighted, a concentrated mind is focused, unified, and stable. These are the characteristics of a concentrated mind. Focused, unified, and stable, regardless of whether the conditions are uncomfortable or luxurious. In the Pali language of the early Buddhist scriptures, samadhi is the term that has most often been translated into English as concentration, yet samadhi describes something more than the narrow focus implied by concentration. It is a calm unification that occurs when the mind is profoundly undistracted. This is what Ajahn Brahm called stillness. He likes that word stillness. I would think Catherine would probably, Shaila Catherine would probably agree with that. Calm unification that occurs when the mind is profoundly undistracted, when it's still, when it's stable. So the samadhi is the beautiful state of an undistracted mind described in the Pali text as internally steadied, composed, unified, and concentrated. These four qualities indicate that samadhi is not merely focused on a single object, it is a state of profound serenity. I mean, that's, for me, for the longest time, that's really what this practice was about, was having a little bit of serenity, serenidad. And because in my life for so long, and some of the months of the last year have not been very serene, I can tell you, the opposite, but wanting that serenity. A profound serenity that encompasses a balanced, joyful composure, expressing the natural settledness of undistracted awareness. And then this part I've highlighted, the Buddhist tradition discusses three levels of samadhi. The samadhi of momentary concentration, which is something that we can all achieve even in our daily practice. The samadhi that grants access to the jhanas, also called access concentration, and then the samadhi of absorption into the jhanas. So this first one, this momentary concentration, we can do that. We can do it in a 130-minute sit. Sometimes we can even do it in a 1-minute sit. And the benefits can be profound. If you can get 2, 3, 5 breaths together when you're not distracted, that can lead, this I'm just making this up, but I mean, it could lead to an hour or 2 hours or a whole day of feeling more calm than normal. It has deep, almost curing or cooling qualities to it. And the more we can be concentrated in this way, this calm, unified, stable concentration, the more benefits it can have. So for you kind of nerdy guys who like the Pali words and stuff like that, I'm going to now show you a little chart that actually I think Shaila actually put together, but I like it quite well. See if I can find it. What is this? No, that's not it. Oh, I know. Never mind. I know where it is. It is. Oh, there is a Bhikkhu Analayo. I'm going to talk about that at the end, but okay, here we go. Can everybody see 5 jhana factors?
No, we're seeing something else at the moment, Jim.
You know, I'm going to stop that share and I'm going to try it again. Go back to, how about now? 5 jhanic factors? Okay. So she made this chart. I love it. I couldn't do better, so I'm not even going to try. And I'll just, so, you know, it's funny about the jhana, there's certain characteristic factors, titles that we tend to use the Pali, and then there's some where we'll use the English or the Spanish, you know, we'll use the translation. But when it comes to the jhanic factors, we tend to use the Pali, maybe because it's shorter. So the first 2 that we generally talk about, and I mentioned them in the sit, are Vitakka and Vikara. And these are 2 factors that we can apply even in our daily practice without too much problem. So the Vitakka is the initial applying of the mind to the object. And again, the bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back. Each time we do this, this is practicing a Vitakka. And this needs to be present. This is a jhanic factor. If you can't even come to the object once, you're not going to get into the jhanas, right? You need to be able to keep coming back. So and this is the way it's usually translated: applied thought, initial attention, Vitakka. And I might, if there's time, I might talk about the hindrances, but I'm going to skip that for a second. And the function is to apply the mind to its object with special clarity, knowing whatever it is we're looking at, we're paying attention to. Okay, the second one, and they usually go together, Vitakka and Vikara. We usually talk about them together. The Vikara is the sustained thought. This is the one that my teacher, Howie Cohen, he said, invite it. Invite Vikara. Let it infuse your practice. And this is where maybe we get 3 breaths, 5 breaths. Maybe, you can do 10 without being distracted. That is the application of Vikara. Vikara is present at that moment. So she writes, function here to keep associated mental factors occupied with the object. Okay, the second 2 that normally come up together are piti, which you've probably heard me use the word piti before, and sukha, which for some of you Pali junkies, you might notice that sukha is like dukkha sukha. And they both have the same root. One is suffering and the other one is happiness. So piti and sukha tend to arise together, and these are very pleasant physical and mental sensations, states. And they arise when Vitakka and Vikara have gone on a while. So Vikara has gone on a while, then this piti sukha will arise. And some of you have probably experienced at least piti, even in a 30-minute sit, where it can manifest in many different ways. But one way is it's just a pleasant tingling in the body. Or maybe it's just in the hands, or just in the feet, or just in the face, but it's generally pleasant. For some people, it can get too intense, in which case it's not so pleasant because it's too much. But in general, it's a pleasant feeling. And it has almost like Nuri is writing on our board here. It has a purpose, really, and that's almost to keep us going, right? It's pleasant enough. And here I will deviate to the hindrances for a second. This column is the hindrances. So it is the antidote to aversion. Because it's so pleasant, we won't feel averse. We won't want to push it away. And then sukha is a little bit more like happiness. And I remember, for instance, on my last retreat, when Sukha arose, my face broke out into the hugest smile like this. I couldn't even not smile. It was impossible not to smile. I was just so happy like this. My smile was breaking my cheeks. And, nothing I could really do about it. And now the fifth, and these, by the way, these 5 factors, they're present in the first jhana. They're generally considered to be 8, 4 material and 4 immaterial. These 5 are present in the access concentration and then the first jhanic factor, but then they tend to go away until really you're just left with this last one. But the last one, Ekagata, is one-pointedness. This is the hardest one to get. It's when the mind just becomes so interested in the object that the distractions fall away. And it can often result in what's called a nimitta, which is a little light that you'll see in your mind, in the consciousness, that might be right around here in your imagination. It's right around here in the third eye area. And for some people, it can be a very sharp light, and others kind of a little cloudy light, white generally forming here. That's the nimitta, or also called the learning sign. That's the translation. When that nimitta arises, generally speaking, you're at access concentration. You are now at the door of going into the jhanas. And at some point, and this is where I haven't gone this far, so now I'm just telling you what I've read, is that eventually that becomes the object. We'll let go of the breath, we'll let go of whatever the object was before, and we focus on that. At least that's one technique to get into the jhanas and pass through the jhanas. So this one, though, is Ekagata is often translated as one-pointedness. And sometimes we'll even mention that, like if you're sleepy, one-pointedness concentration, where you're really just drilling down on one thing, is a good way to generate energy. And so we'll often use it when we're sleepy. But in this one, it's interesting that the hindrance is here, sensual desire. And that's the first of the hindrances. And it's because that desire, that wanting, falls away once you're at one-pointedness. It's like you don't need anything more. Nada más. You're content. There it is. So, for some, this is kind of book learning, you might say. But for those of you who are intending, especially when we can get out of lockdown, or you can do it online, but if you're intending to do a longer retreat, let's say one of at least a week, maybe 10 days, or of course longer, these things might arise. And I remember my first retreat, a long retreat, I wasn't familiar with them. And so when they arose, I really didn't know how to respond. And I think it is helpful to at least have a basic understanding of where you are. And these things are signs, they're señales, they're signals that you're on the right path, you're going in the right direction, right? And like especially this nimitta, of this book, Chem is asking whether there's a translation in Spanish of Shaila's book. I don't think so, but I'll look in. Oh, no, there is one. He's saying, I thought it was the pregunta. Oh, fantastic. Wow. Okay. Unbelievable. So that's attention plena. I wonder if that's the same one, because that's about mindfulness, but same author, huh? Shaila. Yeah, she occasionally does retreats at Gaia House in England, and she's also been doing some Zoom calls that you can join in on. But what I wanted to say about the nimitta, the light, or any one of these factors, like the vikara, you have sustained application, 5 breaths, 6 breaths, 10 breaths. This is a sign that you're going in the right direction, right? If you can't stay more than a breath, probably, we're kind of facing not in the right direction for concentration. Now, if piti arises, that tingling, oh, okay, we're going in the right direction towards concentration, towards this unified of mind. And if the nimitta shows, oof, you are in the right direction. But a lot of the teachers, there's another American teacher, Lee Brasington. He says that you'll be tempted to want to look at the light, but don't. He says, don't look at it yet. Wait. It's just a signal. It's like somebody makes a joke that, if you're driving, like Anna Monica and I are right now, we're traveling in this camper van, right? And we got to the city limits and there was a sign that said Sedona. So if you were to start looking at the nimitta as soon as you see it, this would be like us pulling over and then camping at the sign and not actually coming into the town, not actually seeing the beautiful rocks, because the sign is way out there. It's telling you you're in the right direction, but you're not there yet, right? So we don't want to jump ahead and, put your camper van next to the sign. No, you want to keep going. Another thing I want to add is these things do not come, we can't force them. The hindrances, which we will talk about next week, I promise, because they're super important. The hindrances will hinder, okay? These obstáculos will stop us from achieving the jhana, for sure, 100%. The jhanic factors arise when there is an absence of hindrance, when the hindrances fall away. Now, the very first of the hindrances is desire. Wanting, I want, which I must admit, this is the one I wrestle with the most. And during my long retreat, it was just present. At first it was, I want jhana. Well, that's a sure way to not get jhana. You can't want it. You won't get it. And then when I finally let it go, the factors arose. It was like magic almost. And then, as some of you know, I developed this issue with my sinuses. I still think it was the shrubbery, who knows, something in Massachusetts. But then there was wanting, and that was wanting this to be different. You could also say it was aversion. I was averse to my nose, but wanting it to be different. And these just serve as a baye, it's just a barrier. You can't get through it. But when the hindrances aren't absent, almost by accident, when you're not even paying attention, the whole thing could happen. So this is why I think it is helpful to have at least a fundamental understanding of the factors, of the hindrances, because you never know when it might strike you. It could be even a short retreat if you've got a mind that is relatively concentrated. Okay, the last thing I'm going to say, let me see if there was something here. I think Emilio said something. I think he's gone. Yeah, okay. I was going to maybe read from Bhikkhu Bodhi, but I think what I'll do is just mention this thing. So in general, you could break down this concentration practice between objects, including the breath, and the Brahma Viharas, the 4 heart qualities of which metta is the one that we do every Sunday at the end. This is also a concentration practice, this bhavana, okay? And I know many people that when they go into long retreat, this is what they do. They cultivate loving kindness, facing in the direction of concentration. So like I offered right there at the end, and this is an absolutely wonderful, because you get, for me, you almost get 2 for 1. You're generating the loving kindness towards all beings and yourself, and you're practicing concentration. So you get two for 1 really there. And what's kind of recommended there is similar to the object, where you want to pick a phrase that really resonates with you, and you want to pick a person or a being that you really love and that resonates with your heart. So for instance, for me, I'd often choose my children. So much easier to want them to be happy, right? Or you could do all beings, or you can even do yourself. And the idea, and I've never done it the whole way through, but what I've heard and read is you use the phrases until you no longer need the phrases, until it just becomes a feeling, a state. And then you focus on the state, the feeling, the emotion. So may all beings be happy should over time open the heart in a sense, right? You have that feeling, and then you start to focus on that. And everybody I know just about who are a steady or a regular jhanic practicer, this is how they did it. It's through loving kindness. So you just keep it up until that feeling, and then you cultivate it, and then apparently the loving kindness feeling will just permeate your body and can send you right into the absorption states. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop there. Is there anybody who has a question, a comment, anything about this, or just their daily practice?
Hello, thank you very much, Jim. I would like to ask a question, because I'm a little bit confused about the Brahma Viharas, because I thought that the practice of the Brahma Viharas, like metta, was a Vipassana practice. But now I hear you say that it's a Samatha practice, so I'm a little bit confused. Maybe it's that while you are generating the metta feeling, it's Vipassana, and when you get it and you observe it, it's Samatha? Can it be like this, or?
I probably, Chema might even have a better answer, but it could be that way. And though I really think that the order is actually the other way, where Vipassana, the true seeing of things as they are, Vipassana, comes when the mind is concentrated. Comes more easily when the mind is concentrated. So especially if you're able to, so like many people I know who have done jhanic practice, after say a few days of it, they then shift to Vipassana, because now the mind is very soft, the mind is very pliable, and so they're able to see these things more, not only more clearly, but the impact that what they see has is deeper, and it really can change our DNA. If we go straight into Vipassana, like even in a Goenka retreat, right? Have you been to a Goenka retreat, 10-day Vipassana retreat with Goenka Diario?
No, with Goenka, no. I have done a Vipassana retreat, but not a Goenka one.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say about his is for the first 3 days of that retreat, you just do samatha practice, right? To kind of focus the mind, to concentrate the mind. So if we launch right into Vipassana, which we can do, it's going to be at a much more superficial level than if the mind is really concentrated. Now, in the West, though, and kind of to your question about it's a Vipassana practice, I wouldn't say it's a Vipassana practice, but I will say that all the Western teachers, Vipassana teachers, teach it. So it comes as a package, generally, right? You have Vipassana, and then you also have the Brahma Viharas, and then you can have the Samatha practice. So we may associate it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jim.
You're welcome. I was trying to think of the Pali word. Here, let me just see if I can find it in Bhikkhu Bodhis real quick. No. Trying to, oh, here, yeah, okay, so. Yeah. I thought there was a word that almost could, sometimes the words can almost answer our questions, but I'm not seeing the word that I wanted, which was the form of bhavana practice. So there's samatha bhavana, concentration practice, vipassana practice. And I thought there was also one that was the Brahma Vihara concentration practice, those three things together, but I might be mistaken on that. Yeah, anyone else with the question or a comment?
Yes, hi Jim. Thanks a lot for this very interesting explanation. I wanted to share or ask, I don't know, like something that happened to me a couple of times during meditation. I got the feeling like I wasn't in the room where I was sitting. I had the feeling like it was a really open space, like huge. And one time I had to open my eyes to check if something was going on. It was really, really, really pleasant, but really weird. So I don't know if you have any comments on this feeling or.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That, some people would kind of put that kind of an experience under the piti, the state, the rapture state. Others, maybe it's a result of vikara, it's a result of some sustained concentration. But what can be so beautiful about that, and I just love that particular experience, is without even having to go to a long retreat, you have experienced this kind of selflessness of life, right? That there really isn't, this isn't so solid actually, that it can just go expansive like that.
Exactly that,
so
like an expansion. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, those are little gifts, and the problem is don't cling to them. Don't hope they happen again, because sometimes they don't. You get one, but then that changes your mind a little bit about the way things are. That's a beautiful, wonderful vipassana experience that you've had, seeing things as they really are. Yeah, fantastic. And just, only thing is, try not to want it to happen again, because it might not, and it might.
Thanks.
Yes, that's beautiful. Okay, well, I see we're at our hour. So if there's no other questions or comments, we'll do a little metta practice to end. Is that okay? All right. So again, finding that comfortable posture. It's often suggested that, metta especially, we want to be comfortable, really relaxed. Let's start by sending this metta, this loving kindness, this goodwill to ourselves. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. And may I live with ease. And now let's bring to mind somebody, a benefactor, we might call them, somebody we really love unconditionally, or we admire, we would like to be more like, somebody where you can send it, just send metta, no problem. Maybe the Buddha, a wonderful grandparent, or even your pet. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. Now let's try a difficult person. Maybe somebody who has hurt your feelings, said or did something or didn't do something. Maybe we have a little resentment. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you live with ease. And finally, all beings in all directions, without exceptions. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings live with ease. And to close out, let's dedicate, share the merit of our practice today, the teachings, our Buddha nature, our Sangha. Dedicate these to the benefit of all beings. May all beings be happy and peaceful, healthy and strong, safe and protected. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, free from war and the causes, free from pain and the causes of pain, free from war, free from violence, free from discrimination, free from racism, and free from coronavirus. And may all beings find their direction towards peace, towards calm, towards a unified, steady concentration, towards the end of our suffering. May all beings be free. Well, thank you again. So nice to share this Monday. A little bit later, we're in Arizona, which is 1 hour ahead of California, 1 hour closer to the hour of Spain. So it's a little more midday, almost 1 now, our time.
What are you doing with the rest of your birthday, Jim?
Thank you. So I'm going to take a walk around one of these red rocks. We'll hike a wonderful hiking paths around here. And then Anna Monica has made an appointment for me to get a massage. And there's many healing centers just walking. Yesterday I had acupuncture, today a massage. They're 5 minutes, 6 minute walk for those things. It's really quite
Lovely.
nice.
Lovely.
And then we have leftovers for dinner. But
Perfect.
actually, I just going out still is I think I like leftovers better. So that feels like a nice
Yeah.
birthday dinner.
Great.
But feel free to unmute yourself if you want to say hi. And then if anybody wants to be in small groups, I'm happy to set up those after a couple minutes if anybody's still around.